gonna stop me? Open the gates! Attack!
31 Super Mario theories, 7 levels. The Mushroom Kingdom is not all it seems to be. We've put together the most disturbing and haunting theories in the Super Mario world. Let's go to the tip of the iceberg. Level 1. Super Mario 64 Personalized Copy. In May 2020, an anonymous user on 4chan posted an unusual theory claiming that every copy of Super Mario 64 was equipped with an experimental AI designed to tailor the experience to each player. According to this post, this AI could subtly alter gameplay, environments, and even music based on subconscious cues, creating a unique version of the game for every individual that played it. The idea was framed as much more than just procedural generation, like most of the AIs we see today. This one was more sinister, suggesting the AI was studying players as they went through and manipulating their emotions accordingly. The theory quickly gained traction, fueled by eerie anecdotes shared online. Players described unsettling experiences as they played, distorted textures, inexplicable object placements, and missions that seemed to change unpredictably. Videos and screenshots claim to show off these phenomena, with some claiming their copies contained rooms with black voids or invisible pipes leading to nowhere. Others recounted nightmarish sequences where characters like Wario acted violently, attacking Peach or Bowser in grotesque ways, leaving pools of blood behind. One story described Wario using a Mega Mushroom to obliterate Mario himself, culminating in screams from the console speakers before it restarted on its own. According to them, the AI was capable of turning the game into a borderline survival horror, something far, far removed from the quirky fun of Mario's usual adventures. The Eyeless Reflection Mystery. In Super Mario Galaxy, some players discovered a minor but deeply unsettling detail in the mirror surfaces of the game. Mario's reflection lacks pupils. This is most notable in areas with reflective surfaces, and at first glance it might seem like a typical graphical oversight, but honestly, the effect is too precise to dismiss entirely. Mario's reflection shows his eyes as blank white voids devoid of the cheerful pupils that define his iconic look. But what makes it even more disturbing is that when Mario jumps, his reflection doesn't follow, instead just staying perfectly still. It's almost as though his reflection is not a reflection at all, but another Mario trapped under the surface who can't seem to escape this horrible prison he's trapped in. All of this obviously clashes strongly with Mario's otherwise vibrant and whimsical world. The lack of eyes and the weird inability to jump gives his reflection an uncanny, almost lifeless quality, as if it belonged to some entity other than Mario himself. It seems like he just stares back at you with an eerie indifference, which just makes the atmosphere feel even more intense and weird. Some even reported feeling a sense of dread when lingering near reflective surfaces in the game, and some were too scared to even look at it for fear of waking Demon Mario. Level 2. Mario's Silhouette. According to some players, Super Mario 64 has a hidden character. They claim to have encountered a completely black figure shaped like Mario, which they refer to as Shadow Mario. Unlike typical glitches or graphical errors, this figure is said to move with purpose, walking through Peach's castle, opening doors, and even jumping into paintings. But what makes it especially creepy is how it mirrors the player's actions, almost as if it's a dark echo of Mario himself, our Mario. Some accounts describe the figure appearing unexpectedly in certain levels, standing motionless in the distance and vanishing when approached. Others claim it behaves unpredictably, triggering game crashes or bizarre glitches when interacted with. As for what exactly it is, nobody really knows. Some believe it's a corrupted version of Mario created by the game's code, while others tie it to the personalized copies theory, suggesting that this is a creepy anomaly conjured up by the game to unsettle them. But others think it's very intentional, with one particularly chilling interpretation suggesting that this figure represents Mario's dark side, the embodiment of the suppressed aspect of the character, his fears, failures, or even guilt. The game already has haunting atmosphere, the empty castle halls, distorted music in certain areas, and cryptic elements like Wet Dry World's super unsettling vibe. Shadow Mario fits into the uneasy aspects of the game, amplifying the sense that something isn't quite right beneath the surface. The Super Mushroom based on magic mushrooms. There's a theory that the Super Mushroom in the Super Mario Bros. Games is inspired by real-life magic mushrooms, particularly Amanita muscaria. Let's dig into this. Obviously, the mushroom's iconic red cap with white spots is unmistakably similar to the Amanita muscaria. But what is that? Well, to be very brief, this mushroom is psychoactive and toxic and has long been associated with hallucinations, distorted perceptions, and even shamanic rituals in some periods of history. Now, Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto has rejected any claims of direct connections to psychedelics for years, pointing out that mushrooms have long been linked to magical realms and folklore, citing inspirations like Alice in Wonderland, which, to be fair, has also long been linked to drugs. In the game, consuming a super mushroom causes Mario to grow larger and gain enhanced abilities, which does sound like the effects of Amanita muscaria, which can give the user the sensation of objects appearing larger and feelings of empowerment during altered states of consciousness. However, Mario's transformation is a lot more sanitized. He doesn't experience nausea, hallucinations, or psychosis, whereas if this was real, he would be puking and having seizures pretty much constantly. It would be a much less fun game. But consider the Mushroom Kingdom itself. Some fans speculate it might be a hallucinatory construct, some kind of psychedelic fever dream where Mario escapes his mundane life as a plumber. And using magic mushrooms? Yeah, that seems like a solid way to get there. Princess Peach's castle as a prison. There's a theory that Princess Peach's castle is actually not a castle at all, but a prison. This iconic structure in Super Mario 64 is presented as a simple royal residence, but the alleged reality could not be more sinister. According to the theory, this is nothing more than a sinister containment facility for trapped souls and defeated enemies. The evidence begins with the castle's mysterious paintings, which serve as portals to entire worlds filled with dangerous creatures and hostile environments. These paintings are apparently more than decorative. They're prisons created using Professor Egad's Ghost Portrificationizer, a device introduced in Luigi's Mansion that traps living beings in paintings. Yeah, the lore kind of writes itself. The castle itself is full of spirits. The basement and courtyard alone are teeming with ghosts, while certain areas seem totally impossible space-wise, which hints at some kind of hidden chambers where entities might be confined forever. Some believe even Princess Peach herself may not be free, and that the stained glass window depicting her doesn't align with the interior layout, which would supposedly mean that her spirit is trapped somewhere within the prison until Mario rescues her. If the castle is a prison, it casts Princess Peach in a much darker light. Rather than a benevolent ruler, she might be the ruler of a system of eternal imprisonment for enemies of the Mushroom Kingdom. She's a dictator. Or Peach herself might be a victim of this system, a ghostly figure trapped within her own castle. Either way, it makes the Mushroom Kingdom much, much less cozy. Before we delve deeper into the dystopian Mushroom Kingdom, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Level 3. The Forbidden Room, or Peach's Secret Bedroom. For decades, rumors have circulated that there's a hidden room in Princess Peach's castle in Super Mario 64. The idea all began because of the castle's peculiar design, where certain architectural inconsistencies suggest the possibility of concealed areas, like unaccounted for space between walls and windows. The stories usually feature players suddenly falling into voids or accessing unreachable areas through exploits, such as clipping through walls or manipulating in-game physics and discovering levels that widely deviate from the cheerful tone of Super Mario 64. The levels are usually eerie, empty spaces devoid of music where Mario is left to wander or fall endlessly, making for a very creepy experience. But any videos claiming to show these findings often end abruptly with the game crashing, because the core idea of this is that none of it is supposed to be possible. One of these rumors centered on a supposed secret floor said to contain Princess Peach's bedroom. In some iterations of the story, players describe furniture scattered haphazardly with textures that feel out of place compared to the rest of the game, as though something very bad happened in this room. Super Mario 3D Land Lingering Ghost. World 4.4 of Super Mario 3D Land is infamous for its eerie secret, one that has unsettled players since it was first discovered. At first glance, the level is a typical ghost house filled with booze and shifting platforms. But at the end of the stage, after Mario exits the haunted mansion and approaches the flagpole in a dimly lit garden, something strange happens if you wait. Instead of rushing to finish the level, players who linger near the fence at the back of the screen have reported seeing a ghostly figure materialize. It appears after about 30 seconds, emerging faintly from the shadows behind the fence. The figure is tall and humanoid, unlike any other ghost in the Mario series. Its haunting expression distinguishes it from the cartoonish boos that populate the level, a kind of face twisted in what seems like silent terror. It stares for a moment, mouth agape, before vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. But this phenomenon isn't just a random scare, it's steeped in cultural significance to Japan. The level's designation as World 4.4 ties into Japanese superstition surrounding the number 4. You see, in Japanese, 4 is pronounced shi, which is also a homophone for death, which makes the whole thing feel even creepier and more deliberate rather than coincidental. But this ghost isn't confined to World 4.4. Players and hackers have discovered that it appears in other ghost house levels throughout the game, often lurking in hard-to-see places like behind windows or fences. Unlike most of the Mario Easter eggs, this one feels out of place and, frankly, creepy. Nothing like the usual playful tone. Bowser's Skeleton Army. There's a fan theory that Bowser's skeletal minions, such as Dry Bones and Dry Bowser, are actually remnants of fallen soldiers reanimated by dark magic. Dry Bones are skeletal Koopas that collapse and reassemble endlessly, often found in Bowser's castles near lava pits. Even that setting suggests a grim fate. The living Koopas fall into molten depths, their flesh burned away, leaving only bones behind. Then these remains are resurrected by Magic Koopa Dark Magic. It's a pretty sinister thing. Dry Bowser's origin in New Super Mario Bros. Actually reinforces this idea. After being defeated by Mario and plunged into lava, Bowser emerges as Dry Bowser, a skeletal form with hollow ribs and glowing eyes. But unlike Dry Bones, Dry Bowser retains his sentience and combat abilities, suggesting a stronger magical intervention. In one instance, Bowser Jr. tosses Dry Bowser's disassembled bones into a cauldron to reconstruct his father's original form, which, again, implies the use of dark rituals to manipulate skeletal remains. It's all very unsettling. But think about this. If Dry Bones are really fallen Koopas reanimated for battle, they represent an endless army of undead soldiers eternally bound to serve Bowser. And since Dry Bones appear in areas littered with fossils resembling their forms, it's a pretty clear hint at some ancient magical practices. These creatures are not merely skeletons, but spirits tethered to their bones. Bowser's willingness to transform even himself into Dry Bowser just reaffirms the ruthless lengths he might go to maintain power. Whether through dark magic or experimental formulas like Skeletone Formula D, the process strips away flesh but leaves behind an indestructible warrior. Exactly what Bowser wants. an unstoppable army. The Wario Apparition. A player once claimed to have experienced one of the most frightening incidents in Super Mario 64 history. The story centered around a massive floating Wario head that allegedly appears in the basement of Peach's castle, specifically in the hallway leading to Dire Docks. It turns out this player was not the only one to experience it. Players who claim to have encountered this anomaly describe it as a deeply disturbing experience, one that transcends the game itself. The apparition is said to lock eyes with Mario before initiating a relentless chase down an endless hallway, its laughter echoing ominously. The hallway reportedly stretches infinitely, culminating in a game over screen if Wario catches Mario. But what makes the Wario apparition particularly disturbing is the supposed real-world effects it has on players. Witnesses report experiencing stroke-like symptoms immediately after encountering it, difficulty speaking, memory loss, and a lingering sense of dread. Some accounts suggest that even attempting to describe the apparition becomes impossible, as memories of its appearance seem to fade or distort over time. This phenomenon has led many to speculate whether the apparition is purely digital or something more sinister, a manifestation tied to subconscious desires or fears. People are seeing Wario and applying their own fears to him. Nobody knows where this thing comes from, if it even exists. Some suggest it's an unfinished boss character abandoned during development, while others believe it stems from Nintendo's experimental personalization AI, the supposed system designed to tailor gameplay experiences uniquely for each player. In this case, the AI may have inadvertently created something horrifying instead of entertaining. Another theory posits that the apparition is born from collective subconscious wishes for Wario's inclusion in Super Mario 64, which somehow materialized within certain copies of the game. There's no way of knowing, because those who have seen it can't remember it. Super Mario 64 is a Freemason initiation. Super Mario 64 is much more than a game to some people. It's a Freemasonic initiation ritual. Supposedly, beneath the game's colorful platforming lies a symbolic journey steeped in cult-like Masonic imagery and meaning. In case you can't quite work out where this is coming from, the claim revolves around visual cues and thematic parallels between the game's design and Freemasonry, a centuries-old organization known for its use of cryptic symbols and rituals. The central piece of evidence is Princess Peach's castle itself. The checkerboard floor in the castle's foyer mirrors the mosaic pavement found in Masonic lodges, a symbol of duality central to Masonic teachings: good and evil, light and dark. The blazing sun emblem on the floor is also similar to the Masonic blazing star, which represents enlightenment and divine guidance. Some have even reached to interpret the two pillars in the castle's basement as allusions to Jachin and Boaz, the pillars of Solomon's temple often depicted in Masonic lore. But that's just the visual similarities. The gameplay itself is said to parallel a real-life Masonic initiation. Mario's quest to collect power stars is not unlikened to the Masonic pursuit of knowledge and self-improvement. Each level represents trials or stages of enlightenment, with Mario metaphorically ascending through layers of understanding and getting closer to truly understanding himself. The recurring imagery of stars, coins with pentacle-like designs, and even Mario's descent into watery depths before rising again evokes themes of symbolic death and rebirth seen in some Masonic rituals. Now, obviously, critics dismiss these connections as coincidental or overreaching, attributing them to common design tropes rather than deliberate symbolism. Yet the theory has never fully died, and those who believe it remain totally convinced. Luigi's Mansion is a death dream. Luigi's Mansion is a unique game in the Mario universe, much spookier than all the other entries. But there's a theory that Luigi's Mansion is actually a purgatory where Luigi himself is a ghost collecting souls for King Boo. Yeah, some people think Luigi is dead. The theory suggests that the haunted mansion is just a way of symbolizing his journey through the afterlife. It's totally reframing the game's events from a lighthearted ghost hunting adventure into something much, much darker. And there is no evidence more compelling than a moment involving Luigi's shadow during a lightning flash. When he answers a phone in the mansion, his shadow appears distorted, seemingly hanging from a noose. While some dismiss this as a graphical glitch, others argue it symbolizes Luigi's death, supporting the idea that he is navigating purgatory. The fact that King Boo is orchestrating the events just makes it all even more intense. King Boo traps Mario in a painting and lures Luigi to the mansion under false pretenses. So if Luigi is already dead, his battle against King Boo could represent a struggle for his soul, or perhaps his reluctant acceptance of an eternal role as a servant collecting other lost souls. Now, just to double down on the idea, the mansion itself feels like an illusion created to trap Luigi in an endless cycle. Professor E. Gadd reveals early on that the mansion appeared suddenly, hinting at its supernatural origins and inhuman nature. The portrait ghosts, each frozen in their final moments of life, are trapped in repetitive loops, unable to move on. We don't fully know what happened to put them in these situations, what killed them, or why, once again suggesting that Luigi is interacting with spirits unable to escape their own purgatory. Shy Guys are dead people. The Shy Guys first appeared in Doki Doki Panic, a game later rebranded as Super Mario Bros. 2, but their design has always carried an air of mystery. That hooded figure with a blank, expressionless mask has long drawn speculation about who or what exactly is underneath. Well, one theory claims that they're the spirits of the dead forced to wear masks. In a cutscene in Mario Power Tennis, a Shy Guy trips, causing its mask to fall off. The camera doesn't show its face, but Luigi's horrified reaction suggests that there's something gruesome or unnatural underneath. Naturally, this has fueled theories that their masks hide something too terrifying to reveal. Some believe the masks are not disguises but prisons, trapping the spirits of the dead, or failed magical experiments behind the mask. Which makes a lot of sense given their partnership with Boo's and their ghostly appearances in games like Luigi's Mansion. In this game, the ghostly Shy Guys lose their masks to reveal glowing yellow eyes and a void-like blackness beneath. It's pretty creepy. Adding to the unease of that is their behavior in Paper Mario Color Splash. A Shy Guy remarks that Mario has a face, implying they may lack one entirely. So, they might be faceless entities, which would mean their masks are integral to their existence, perhaps even fused to them. And then we have to consider their potential origins. Some speculate they're failed creations of Kamek or other Magikoopas, mutated into mindless servants and forced into anonymity by their masks, which may well be the most tragic fate of them all. Level 4. Big Boo's Haunt Secret Laugh. Big Boo's Haunt is one of the most unsettling levels in Super Mario 64 right from the beginning. The level is accessed not through a painting like every other level, but by shrinking down and entering a cage held by a ghost in the castle courtyard. Inside, players find themselves in a moonlit forest surrounding a decrepit mansion filled with eerie sounds, hostile ghosts, and weird paranormal phenomena. The mansion itself is 3 levels, each one with its own haunting challenges like flying books, collapsing bridges, and the infamous mad piano that lunges at players without warning. But the myth of the secret laugh has never gone away. Players have long reported hearing faint, distorted laughter near certain doors in the mansion. Some claim it's Big Boo mocking them, but others believe it's something darker. A remnant of an unfinished or abandoned idea buried deep within the game's code. Unlike King Boo's deliberate taunts in Super Mario 64 DS, this laugh isn't tied to any visible character or event. It feels random, as though it exists purely to unsettle rather than serve gameplay. What makes this laugh so unnerving isn't just its sound, but its placement. The mansion itself is already a disorienting, chaotic, and destabilizing environment, but the bizarre laughs make it even more unsettling. Hearing laughter here feels like a violation of the space, as if something unseen is watching us. Some players have tried to replicate the laugh under specific conditions, like standing still for extended periods or triggering glitches, but its appearance remains inconsistent. It just shows up to haunt players, even decades later. The Safari Room myth. There are tons of rumors about cut material from the Mario games, many of which have never actually been confirmed one way or another. But the Safari Room ghost myth from Luigi's Mansion is one of the most unsettling of them all. It centers on claims that a hunter-themed portrait ghost was planned for the Safari Room, who allegedly wanted to mount Luigi's head on the wall as part of his trophy collection. The first recorded instance of this concept was in a preview in the October 2001 issue of Nintendo Power. The magazine described the Safari Room as a trophy room and warned players to proceed with caution because the ghost of a hunter might try to add Luigi to his collection. The Safari Room, with its animal pelts strewn across the floor and mounted deer heads on the walls, is already built to have an eerie atmosphere, making the idea of a hunter ghost seem totally plausible. But there's no evidence of such a character in the game's data. Despite unused ghosts being discovered in the code, none match a hunter description, which means the magazine's statement would be an offhanded comment rather than confirmation of a scrapped character. But the internet has long held to the myth, evolving in its own way. Some versions claimed the ghost was an African or Australian hunter armed with a gun who explicitly threatened to kill Luigi and display his severed head. This imagery was said to be far too dark for a family-friendly Nintendo title, leading many to believe it was cut during development. But there's no concrete proof of any of this. No beta version or concept art ever surfaced to support the claim, so there's just no way of knowing. Luigi's hanging shadow in Luigi's Mansion. Late in Luigi's Mansion, players encounter a really unsettling moment in the telephone room. The mansion is plunged into darkness after a lightning strike. If Luigi answers one of the ringing phones and lightning flashes during the conversation, his shadow appears on the wall, but something is off. The shadow doesn't look like Luigi standing normally. Instead, it seems suspended in mid-air with his arms at his sides and what resembles a noose around his neck. For years, this unsettling image has sparked speculation among fans, earning the nickname Hanging Luigi. The visual is brief but haunting, as though it was a deliberate attempt to inject a more macabre and dark tone into the game. Some players have theorized that Luigi's Mansion, already darker than most Nintendo titles, was meant to hint at Luigi's death or even his future. The idea is that the shadow is symbolic, that perhaps Luigi is a ghost trapped in purgatory, wandering the mansion totally unaware of his fate. Others point to early beta elements of the game that were reportedly more disturbing, including a scrapped game over screen featuring a more unsettling depiction of Luigi. However, the technical explanations offer a less sinister interpretation. The hanging shadow is widely considered to be a glitch caused by camera angles and lighting effects. When Luigi answers the phone, the camera tilts slightly upward, altering how the shadows are cast. The light source shifts below Luigi, creating an illusion of elevation and distortion in his silhouette. What looks like a noose is likely just Luigi holding the phone or part of his vacuum cleaner. But even though it was debunked as a glitch, this moment left a pretty intense mark on the players. It was creepy, and that's what mattered. Toads trapped inside the castle walls. In Super Mario 64, a toad near the castle entrance greets Mario with, "Am I glad to see you? The princess and I, and, well, everybody, we're all trapped inside the castle walls." Now, at first glance, this might seem like a simple statement about Bowser's takeover, but its phrasing, especially the part about being trapped inside the walls, has fueled unsettling theories about the fate of the castle's inhabitants. The idea that toads could be literally imprisoned within the castle walls was plausible because of Bowser's established use of magic in previous Mario games. In Super Mario Bros., he transformed toads into bricks and stones, so the notion that he could have embedded them into the walls as part of his sinister plot isn't exactly far-fetched. And this theory is further supported by the game's eerie atmosphere. Peach's castle, usually a symbol of lighthearted adventure and a very pink-spirited joy, feels strangely hollow and oppressive in Super Mario 64. The low population of toads and their cryptic dialogue only make it feel more likely that something is off. Adding to the mystery is how the toads are positioned. Many are found standing against walls throughout the castle, almost as if they're fused to them. Their immobility and occasional jumping animations are widely interpreted as signs of struggle, as though they're attempting to break free from Bowser's magical grip. The idea gains more weight when you consider Bowser's manipulations of paintings and walls to create alternate worlds. It's not hard to imagine him trapping living beings within these same structures. Whether intentional or not, this dialogue and its implications have left players questioning what lies beneath Peach's castle's pristine exterior. We know whatever is under there is not good. The horrific origin of Chain Chomps. The Chain Chomps are some of the more intimidating villains in the Mario universe, but what really makes them so scary is that they came from a real place of trauma for Shigeru Miyamoto. As a young boy, Miyamoto often roamed the countryside near his home in Japan, exploring hillsides and creeks. But one route he frequently took led past a neighbor's house, where a chained bulldog lay in wait. Every time Miyamoto passed, the dog would charge at him, barking ferociously, its teeth bared and snapping. The sight of the animal surging forward was terrifying, its aggression palpable even from a distance. It wasn't just the noise or the speed, it was the sheer intensity of its movements, as though it existed solely to attack. The chain was the only thing keeping him alive. Just as the dog reached Miyamoto, the chain would pull tightly, jerking it back violently. The tension in that moment was overwhelming. The split-second realization that he was safe, but only because of a fragile restraint. He would freeze on the spot, standing just beyond the reach of its salivating jaws, watching as it strained against its leash, desperate to break free. This happened every single time he passed by. Even though he knew the chain would hold, there was always the lingering fear of, what if it didn't? Years later, this memory resurfaced when Miyamoto was designing enemies for Super Mario Bros. 3. He transformed his childhood trauma into something tangible. A spherical creature with enormous jagged teeth chained to a post, the Chain Chomp. Its movements mirrored those of that bulldog, lunging forward with unnatural force before being snapped back by its chain. The barking sound it makes in later games makes it feel even more intense, evoking that primal fear of being pursued by something wild and unrestrained. 3 balls are the dead bodies of the previous King Bob-omb. King Bob-omb, the first boss in Super Mario 64, is obviously a towering figure of authority. But there's something about his defeat that has left people deeply unsettled. After Mario hurls him 3 times to the ground, the king explodes into golden fragments, granting Mario a Power Star. Yet something peculiar happens in Bob-omb Battlefield after his death. In the valley below the mountain's summit where King Bob-omb once ruled, players notice a change. 3 cannonballs now roll endlessly back and forth. Initially, there had been only 2. Obviously, something has changed. And that's when people started asking, what if these cannonballs are not mere obstacles, but the remains of fallen King Bob-ombs? The theory suggests that when a King Bob-omb is defeated, he is stripped of his crown and limbs, reduced to a lifeless cannonball doomed to roll perpetually in the valley. The in-game dialogue of a Bob-omb buddy backs it up, as he refers to King Bob-omb as nothing but a big dud now, implying a transformation rather than complete destruction. He's not dead, he's just lifeless. So if there are now 3 cannonballs in the valley, does it mean 2 other kings met the same fate before Mario arrived? Were they rulers who once stood atop the mountain, only to be dethroned and discarded as rolling debris? It's just a cycle of defeat. Each king rises to power only to be defeated and condemned to an eternity as part of the battlefield's hazards. This theory reframes Bob-omb Battlefield in a whole new way, not just as a playground for Mario's adventures, but as a graveyard for deposed kings. Luigi's unused death animation. So we know there are a lot of rumors and myths about the Mario games and what was or wasn't in them at one point or another. But Super Mario 64 DS has an especially disturbing one. There's a long-standing rumor that a scrapped animation in Super Mario 64 DS featured Luigi dying in a disturbingly violent manner. The game itself has some deeply eerie undertones, so it wouldn't be surprising. But the story states that during development, an unused death animation was created depicting Luigi choking violently as if poisoned before collapsing lifelessly on the ground. This alleged animation was said to be so unsettling that it was removed before the game's release. Of course, there are already plenty of unsettling death sequences already present in Mario games. For example, in Super Mario 64, Mario's drowning animation is particularly graphic. He clutches his throat, gasps for air, and eventually succumbs to his fate, floating lifelessly in the water. That's pretty disturbing, so it's not impossible that Nintendo wouldn't go down a similar route with Luigi. But so far, no credible evidence has surfaced to confirm the existence of a choking or poison-related death animation for Luigi. Level 5. The Booze in Super Mario World Sunken Ghost Ship level. The Sunken Ghost Ship level in Super Mario World has taken on a whole new life of its own thanks to fans who pieced together a creepy new narrative from game manuals and thematic clues. According to the manual, the shipwreck was once an airship from Super Mario Bros. 3, a vessel that likely carried Bowser's forces, including Rocky Wrenches, Bullet Bills, and other troops into battle. But its destruction saw all of the crew killed with it, yet seemingly trapped their spirits in limbo. That's the theory. The wreckage settled on the ocean floor, but the soldiers aboard, unable to complete their mission, transformed into boos, spectral beings tethered to the ship by their unfulfilled purpose. These boos are not ordinary ghosts. They exhibit behaviors suggestive of lingering trauma or unfinished business. Disappearing boo buddies unique to this level vanish and reappear unpredictably, as if they're replaying moments from their doomed voyage. It's as if they're still awaiting orders or seeking vengeance for their untimely demise. Mario coins are souls. Every Mario game features more or less the same basic mechanics, including the classic coins. But there's a growing theory that the coins are not what they seem to be. Some people believe that they're not actually currency, but trapped souls from the Mushroom Kingdom's past. In Super Mario Bros., the instruction manual reveals that Bowser turned the Mushroom Kingdom inhabitants into bricks. That implies that these bricks, which Mario often smashes to collect coins, may not just be cursed objects, but that they may contain the remnants of living beings whose souls are now trapped inside. That connection becomes even clearer given how coins appear after certain actions. When Mario uses the fire flower to burn enemies, coins emerge. Not from physical destruction, but just as a release of their essence. Yet other attacks like stomping yield no coins, suggesting the soul remains bound to the body unless fully obliterated. Even Yoshi's consumption of enemies results in coins, implying that he doesn't just eat the flesh but absorbs the life force entirely, turning him into a devourer of souls. A much darker interpretation of this beloved character. And again, we come back to that mechanic of collecting 100 coins to gain an extra life. The implication here is that Mario harvests enough souls to cheat death itself, achieving a form of immortality. But this raises some disturbing questions. Is Mario merely a hero trying to save Princess Peach, or is he exploiting the remnants of his fallen dystopian world for personal gain? The dwindling number of coins in later levels could even signify the gradual extinction of Mushroom Kingdom residents who tried and failed to rescue their land before him. It all paints a very grim picture of this world. To survive, you have to feast on the dead. Shy Guys are a product of failed genetic experimentation. We've talked about the Shy Guys a few times now, partly because they're just so mysterious and unknown that it's disturbing in its own way. But this theory is yet another creative interpretation of what exactly they are: genetic experiments gone wrong. Their unsettling appearance suggests a deliberate effort to conceal something far more disturbing beneath. So while their behavior might seem harmless, their mysterious nature raises serious questions about what they truly are and why they exist. A common theory is that Shy Guys were originally intended to be elite assassins or soldiers, created through magical or genetic experimentation by Kamek, Bowser's loyal Magic Koopa. The experiments, however, went horribly wrong. Instead of producing powerful warriors, the process created malformed and mentally diminished creatures. Their masks and robes are just a grim cover-up for these failed creations, hiding deformities or other unsettling features that would otherwise reveal the extent of the experiment's failure. There are many moments throughout the games where their masks nearly slip off, such as in Mario Power Tennis, where Luigi reacts with visible horror upon glimpsing what lies beneath. This reaction suggests that whatever is under the mask is so grotesque or unnatural that even a seasoned adventurer like Luigi is disturbed by the sight of it. Their waddling gait and seemingly aimless behavior hint at a lack of coordination or intelligence, both traits consistent with creatures born from disastrous experimentation. Kamek's role as Bowser's scientific and magical advisor also implies access to resources for experiments like these. So, in this context, Shy Guys might be mass-produced rejects from an attempt to create a perfect minion army. They were literally born to die, and they weren't even good enough for that. Mysteries of Wet Dry World. Wet Dry World in Super Mario 64 stands out as one of the most unsettling levels in all of gaming history. From the moment players enter the stage, they're greeted by an eerie, desolate atmosphere unlike any other. The level's defining feature, the ability to raise and lower water levels, introduces a mechanical strangeness that feels totally disconnected from the rest of the game. This mechanic, combined with the stark gray architecture and barren design, creates a sense of entrapment that isn't present anywhere else in the game. The ramps surrounding the stage are slippery, ensuring players remain confined within its walls. There's literally no escape. Even the skybox is jarring. Unlike other levels in Super Mario 64, which feature cartoonish backdrops, Wet Dry World's skybox is a distorted photo of Cáceres, a real town in Spain. The image depicts an abandoned city submerged underwater, its rippling surface suggesting a catastrophic flood. This visual alone feels out of place in Mario's world and hints at a tragic backstory which is extremely unsettling and likely killed many people. Players are left wondering what happened, why, and how many lost their lives. That uneasiness gets even stronger when players discover the downtown area, a hidden underwater town accessible only through a long, claustrophobic tunnel. The appearance of this weird submerged space defies all logic. The whole area feels like purgatory, a liminal space where life once existed but has been totally erased. And just to make it all really sing with discomfort, Wet Dry World has no population. Aside from robotic enemies and one lone Bob-omb buddy, there are no signs of life. The silence and emptiness make players feel like intruders in a forgotten dimension. Combined with its surreal design and unanswered mysteries, Wet Dry World is purgatory, and Mario cannot fully escape. Princess Peach wears her eyeballs as earrings. At some point, someone playing Super Mario Sunshine had a bizarre observation. In certain game renderings, Princess Peach's earrings appear glossy and orb-like. Oh, and they were her eyes. This peculiar detail sparked discussion on forums like Reddit, where fans speculated about their material. whether they were glass, pearls, or something more sinister. That's when someone suggested they were actually eyeballs removed and repurposed as jewelry. Well, what began as a dark joke quickly spiraled into a full-blown theory. The idea suggests some seriously painful self-mutilation or an even darker origin story for Peach. How would someone come to wear their own eyes as a fashion accessory? Did she willingly remove them, or was it forced upon her? Whatever the answer, it suggests something very, very sinister is going on behind her seemingly perfect image as the Mushroom Kingdom's benevolent ruler. Fans have pointed out that Peach's eyes and earrings are eerily similar in size and color. And if this were true, then the contrast of her cheerful demeanor with such a macabre reality makes this theory so unsettling and deeply disturbing. Level 6. Hell Valley Sky Trees. When players reach the Shiverburn Galaxy in Super Mario Galaxy 2, they end up discovering one of the creepiest sights in any Mario game: the Hell Valley Sky Trees. When the player uses the first-person view to look up at the distant glacier cliffs, they'll notice something they can't see in any other view. 3 shadowy humanoid forms with elongated arms and hollow eyes silently watching from afar. There's a 4th figure there, but it's partially obscured, hidden behind the cliffs. These entities never move, never interact, and remain unreachable no matter what players attempt, even if they use hacks or cheats to explore beyond the game's boundaries. So what the hell are they? Well, their in-game file name, Hell Valley Sky Tree, suggests a connection to something sinister, and their appearance really leans into that. Unlike the cheerful and colorful tone typical of Mario games, these things feel super out of place, very alien, and haunting. Their placement in the skybox means they follow Mario's movements across the level, always present but forever distant, which has led people to try and figure out what they are and why. Some fans have linked them to Japanese folklore, suggesting they might be inspired by Kodama, tree spirits said to curse those who harm their homes. Others propose that they are remnants of a scrapped Hell Valley level, with Shiverburn Galaxy serving as a toned-down version of its original concept. But one much darker theory speculates that they represent cursed or transformed beings, possibly tied to magic or tragedy within the Mushroom Kingdom's past. Nintendo has never acknowledged these figures or their meaning, which has only left more space for theories. Are they ghosts, aliens, forgotten gods? Whatever their origin, they don't seem to be going anywhere. They're just watching. Mushrooms grow from Mario's corpses. In 1996, a manga was released based on Super Mario 64 with a whole bunch of bizarre imagery and jokes included. But one illustration was particularly interesting. The image shows a mushroom sprouting directly from the decomposing body of a dead Mario buried deep underground. The roots of the mushroom intertwine with his lifeless corpse, which suggests a grim cycle. Mario dies, his body nourishes the soil, and from it grows a mushroom that grants another life to his successor. Yeah, mushrooms are clearly more than just a helpful power-up. They're literally a symbol of Mario's endless struggle. Each time he falls into a pit or is defeated by an enemy, his body doesn't simply vanish, but lingers, decaying beneath the surface. In death, he contributes to the survival of his future selves, creating this weird, sinister cycle where life feeds on death. Mario is literally dying for his own continuity in some weird Groundhog Day situation. So that means every time Mario picks up a one-up mushroom, he's consuming the essence of his own past failures. Each extra life is not just a second chance, it's a literal consumption of what came before. Which means the Mushroom Kingdom is much less whimsical and more sinister, really. The cheerful music and vibrant landscapes feel weird when you think about what's going on under the surface. The true identity of Nabbit. Nabbit's true identity has long been a mystery in the Mario universe, with Nintendo never willingly revealing, well, anything about him. First introduced in New Super Mario Bros. U, Nabbit is a purple, rabbit-like thief with a penchant for stealing items and evading capture. He has round eyes, a sack slung over his shoulder, and a white handkerchief with a crude mouth drawn on it. So he doesn't look like any other character, sure, but the question remains, who or what is Nabbit? The fans have a lot of ideas, with theories ranging from simple to more bizarre ideas about the whole thing. But one of the most popular theories suggests that Nabbit could be Bowser Jr. in disguise. The similarities are actually pretty clear. Both wear bandana-like accessories with menacing teeth designs, and their mischievous behavior aligns pretty well. So the theory goes that Bowser Jr., known for his pranks and disguises, may have created the Nabbit persona to pull off his stunts undetected. But the theory falters when you consider Nabbit's occasional alliances with Mario and Luigi, actions that seem uncharacteristic for Bowser Jr., who is fiercely loyal to his father and will do anything to stop Mario and Luigi. Another theory is that Nabbit might be connected to Dry Bones, the skeletal Koopas, but this one hinges on the notion that Nabbit's bandana could be hiding a skull, with the bag serving as a means to conceal more skeletal features. Although you have to admit that the possibility of Nabbit being an undead creature adds an eerie, sinister layer to his character, especially when paired with his silent demeanor and unsettling speed. Either way, it's a weird thing to think about. If Nabbit is Bowser Jr., it suggests a deeper level of deception within Bowser's ranks. And if he's tied to Dry Bones, it raises questions about his origins. Was he once alive? How did any of this happen? Well, we'll never know. Level 7. Donkey Kong killed Mario and Luigi's dad. Back in the 1981 arcade classic Donkey Kong, it's Jumpman, not Mario, who takes on Donkey Kong for the first time. By the end of the game, Jumpman manages to defeat and imprison Donkey Kong in a cage. But when the sequel, Donkey Kong Jr., came out, the story was flipped. In this game, Donkey Kong's son, Donkey Kong Jr., fights to free his father while Mario is cast as the antagonist. It's one of the rare times Mario is not positioned as a good guy. But there's a dark theory that originated in this moment. According to some, Jumpman was Mario and Luigi's father, and between the games, Donkey Kong killed him, all as an act of revenge for his blatant mistreatment and imprisonment. Now, this theory is dark as hell, but it does explain some things about the nature of the Mario universe. If Jumpman was Mario and Luigi's father, then his death at Donkey Kong's hands explain why the brothers were raised without him, and why Mario is such a hard-ass in this game, refusing to let Donkey Kong out. But now their childhood is pretty tragic. It's all built around loss and absence, and suggests that they might have been raised in the Mushroom Kingdom. After all, Mario and Luigi never mention their father in later games, so it's as though his existence has been erased from their lives. It also reframes the relationship between Mario and Donkey Kong. They're not actually enemies, this is just a generational grudge born from Donkey Kong's willing murder of Mario's papa. Shared nightmares. Super Mario 64 is such an influential game that it's even been known to haunt people in their sleep. There's a bizarre phenomenon among players who seem to experience shared nightmares about the game and its levels. None of these people ever met or knew one another. The only thing they had in common were eerily similar dreams or unsettling feelings tied to the game, which were surreal or disturbing in nature. And of all of them, Wet Dry World really stood out as a focal point for these shared experiences due to its unique and unsettling design. As we've said, Wet Dry World is often cited as one of the most unnerving levels in the game, and when you break it down, it's easy to understand why. The distorted image of the real village used as the skybox is so dreamlike and weird that it already sets itself apart from the rest of the game, but even the level itself is devoid of organic life, featuring only mechanical enemies, which makes it all feel even more lifeless and abandoned. The sunken city portion of the level is filled with locked doors and abandoned structures, almost like a prison. Here, the water level can be manipulated by interacting with switches. It all creates this weird feeling that this world is some kind of experiment in liminal spaces that exist between two realities. These elements collectively give Wet Dry World a negative emotional aura, to quote the uneasy players who experience these terrifying dreams. The shared nightmares usually involve specific scenarios like being trapped in endless mazes or being chased by unknown entities, all of which mirror the isolation and anxiety that the game clearly wanted from Wet Dry World. Yoshi commits suicide. In Super Mario 64, after collecting all 120 stars, players gain access to the castle roof where Yoshi awaits. This moment is meant to be a celebration or victory. Yoshi congratulates Mario on his achievement and gifts him 100 extra lives alongside a special triple jump ability, and everybody is happy. But what follows sparked one of the game's most unsettling theories. After delivering his message, Yoshi turns and leaps off the roof of Princess Peach's castle, disappearing from sight entirely. The act itself is pretty harmless at first glance. Yoshi's jump is scripted, so he bounds off the edge with a cheerful animation and then vanishes into thin air. Yet the lack of any visible landing point or reappearance leaves an eerie feeling behind. And that's where the speculation began. Players have long debated what this jump signifies. Some interpret it as a symbolic and innocent farewell, while others see something much darker. They see this as a self-inflicted end for Yoshi, who has served his purpose and now exits the world in a disturbingly final way. Part of the reason people believe this is because of the game's cryptic design and atmosphere. The castle roof is isolated high above the rest of the world with no clear indication of what lies below. It's not hard to think that it's possible he just dropped to his end, which is abrupt and pretty unsettling in a game otherwise built on this uniquely whimsical charm. Some people have suggested that Nintendo intended this as a meta-commentary, as if Yoshi's role was to deliver a message on behalf of the developers, and once complete, he removes himself from the game. But the implications become even more disturbing. Yoshi's leap becomes less of a scripted event and more of an existential statement. If Yoshi is expendable once his purpose is served, then doesn't that mean all characters are also meaningless once they've done what they're programmed to do? And then, doesn't that extend out to us in the real world? Yeah, this is a good way to turn Super Mario 64 into a full-on existential freakout. And if you still need more disturbing gaming videos, check out this Iceberg featuring the most disturbing Roblox controversies.